Okay, so we're going to go over our special right triangles and some tricks that you can use in order to get the length of the shortest leg, which we call x. Now, before we get started, just to review our two special right triangles that we've learned about. We've learned about the 30, 60, 90, and we've learned about the 45, 45, 90. Now, the 30, 60, 90 is going to come in handy when you deal with equilateral triangles, as we'll see in a little bit. And the 45, 45, 90 is going to come in handy with squares, and you'll see that come up in a few minutes as well. Now, in terms of your 30, 60, 90, the way that we have done it in class is we've always focused on our 30-degree angle. Across from our 30-degree angle is our shortest side, and we call that side x. All the other side lengths are based off of that x side. So the adjacent side length to the 30 degrees, which is considered the longer leg of the two legs for this right triangle, is x times the square root of 3. Your hypotenuse is 2x. So everything is based off of knowing what the value is for that side across from the 30 degrees, that x value. For your 45, 45, 90, this is called a isosceles right triangle. It's called an isosceles right triangle. And isosceles means that two sides are congruent and the two base angles are congruent. In this case, we do have two sides congruent. We have the two legs being congruent legs for your triangle, and then the two angles that it's across from. In this case, we have the 45 degrees across from this side length, and then the other angle is going to have to be 45 as well for all the angles to add up to 90, and that's across from the other side length. So this is why we call this an isosceles right triangle. Now your two legs, we call those x because they have the same length, and then the length of the hypotenuse is going to be the length of the leg times the square root of 2. In knowing this, you don't have to Pythagorean theorem to figure out any of these missing measurements. You could just use these special right relationships. Okay, so let's go over a couple of cheats. All right, so if we take a look at the right-hand side here, it says your goal is to get x. Now, the first cheat that I'm going to show you is just for the 45, 45, 90 triangle. Now, we know that if we have x, if we have each leg length, to get the length of the hypotenuse, all we have to do is multiply by the square root of 2. Now, the harder part is when they give you a length for the hypotenuse, and you have to get x. So this is our trick. If you have the hypotenuse, and you want to get x, because you know that your hypotenuse is represented by x times the square root of 2, if you notice here. So if we want to just get x, what you would do is you would multiply by the square root of 2 and divide by 2, because your goal is going to be to get rid of that square root of 2. So again, you take your hypotenuse, you multiply by the square root of 2 divided by 2, and then you're going to have x. Let's take a look at an example. Okay. Okay, so here is our triangle. Let's say I'm telling you that these two sides are congruent. So automatically, you know this is the 45, 45, 90 triangle. And let's say they give you the hypotenuse. And that hypotenuse, they give you a length of 10. Your goal is to figure out the length of each of the two legs. Now, what we know about our 45, 45, 90 triangles is that each of the legs is called x. And then your hypotenuse is called x squared root of 2. The way that I've taught you in class is to take that length that they give you and set up an equation to get x. So 10 would equal x squared root of 2. You would divide both sides by square root of 2, and then you would try to rationalize your denominator, and that's the process that we went through in class. Now here's the cheat that you're going to use. Erase that. So if you take a look at this, what I told you to do, with the hypotenuse, you're going to take whatever they give you, you're going to multiply by the square root of 2 and then divide by 2. So let's apply that here. So they gave us a length of 10. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the square root of 2 over 2. And that's going to give us x. That's going to give us the length of each of the legs. So in this case, what we're going to have happen is the 2 is going to go into your 10, because those are both whole numbers. It's going to go in 5 times, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. So we're going to have 5 square root of 2 as your value for x. Now, what does that mean? That means that this leg right here that we call x is a length of 5 square root of 2. And then this length that we have x here is 5 square root of 2. This could be in inches, feet, centimeters, whatever unit of measure they give you. But this is how you would get each of your 2 legs using our little cheat. All we did different with our cheat is that we multiply by the square root of 2 over 2 to get just your x. All right, now let's take a look at the 30, 60, 90. Okay, so the 30, 60, 90, we have a little bit more variables in this situation. So if we take a look back, with our 30, 60, 90, our hypotenuse is 2x, and our adjacent longer leg to the 30 degrees is x squared of 3. So we're going to take a look at what's going to happen if they give you the hypotenuse. We're going to start there. So if they give you the hypotenuse, which is this side right here, we know that that side represents 2x. So in order to just get x, we would take our hypotenuse and we would divide by 2. Since we know that our hypotenuse is 2x, then if you divide by 2, of course, you're going to get just x. So that one's pretty simple to understand. If you're given the hypotenuse, divide by 2, and you get x. You get the shorter side. But what happens when you get the longer leg? That's the harder one. So if we get this longer leg here, that longer leg is considered x times the square root of 3. So what you're going to do to get rid of that square root of 3 and to solve for x, just like we did in the last one, you're going to multiply by the square root of 3 over 3. So whatever square root you're trying to get rid of, you're going to multiply by that square root over the number under the square root. And you're going to be able to get x, the shorter side. Let's take a look at an example. Okay, so all right, here's our right triangle, and I'm going to say that this angle here is 30, so that means that this one has to be your 60, and I'm going to give you a measurement of, let's say I'll give you 14 as the length of the hypotenuse. Now, we know that the side length across from the 30, that's your x value, the shorter side. Your adjacent leg to the 30 is x squared root of 3, and then your hypotenuse is 2x. So take a look at the side that they gave you. They gave you the hypotenuse, which is 2x. So if I want to solve for each of the other sides, I'm going to take that hypotenuse and I'm going to divide by 2 in order to just get x. 14 divided by 2 is going to give me 7. So that's the value for your x. It's 7. So in this example, 7 is the length of the bottom side. And then if I plug in 7 to the adjacent side, it's going to be 7 times the square root of 3. And we leave it just like that. So those are the 3 measurements, or 3 side lengths. We have 7 radical 3, we have 7, and we have 14. That one's not too bad. That's not the hard one. Now we're going to take a look at a harder one. So here's going to be a slightly harder one. Again, I'm going to start off with a triangle. Let me undo that one. I'll make it nicer. Okay, so here's our right triangle. And I'm going to call this angle down here 30, which means that the angle up top is 60. And I'm going to tell you that the measurement of your bottom side here is 15. Okay. My goal is to get the other 2 sides. Well, what we know is that we start at 30 degrees, and across from that 30 is your shorter side. So that's just your plain old x. The side next to your 30 is x square root of 3. And then your hypotenuse is 2x. So if I want to solve for just x, I'm going to deal with this side right here. Now, our rule said this. It says, take your longer leg or whatever leg that you're given, whatever length that you're given for the leg next to the 30 degrees, so for this adjacent side right here, and you're going to multiply that leg by square root of 3 over 3, and that's going to give you x. Now, let's see how that works with this example. So what we have and what we were given is 15. That's the side length that represents x squared of 3. So to just get x, I have to get rid of that square root of 3. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to multiply by the square root of 3 over 3. The 3 can go into the 15 evenly. That's going to go into 15 5 times. The square root of 3 can't be divided by anything. So you're going to get 5 square root of 3 is your x value. Because remember, this is all just to get x, the shortest side. So 5 square root of 3 is x. So in this example, if I plug that back into my problem, I have 5 square root of 3 for the length across from the 30 degrees, a really short side. And then the hypotenuse is double that x value. So 2 times 5 square root of 3 means I'm going to be doing 2 times 5 because both of those are regular whole numbers, and you get 10. And the square root of 3 just comes along for the ride, so there's nothing to multiply by. So 10 square root of 3 is the length of the hypotenuse. So our three measurements are 10 square root of 3 for the hypotenuse, 5 square root of 3 for the side across the 30 degrees, the shortest side, and then 15 is the length that we started with, the length that we were given. So those are your tricks for how you're going to be able to solve for x in your two situations. Okay? So in a 45, 45, 90, if you have the side that is x squared root of 2, your hypotenuse, you're going to multiply by the square root of 2 over 2 to get your x value. For a 30, 60, 90, if you have your hypotenuse, you're going to divide by 2. Because remember, your hypotenuse is 2x. And if you divide by 2, you're going to get just x, the shortest side. And for your 30, 60, 90, if you're given the longer leg, which is your x radical 3, you're going to multiply by the square root of 3 over 3, and that's going to give you x. So those are your 3 little cheats, and we're going to have another video where you can practice those out.